Today I visit with artist Richard Dutton of Hallsville, Missouri. I'm your host, Rick J., and this is Spotlight on the Art. Welcome to the studio of Richard Dutton in Hallsville, Missouri. Spotlight on the Arts, bringing of the top artists of Missouri and sometimes the world. Mr. Dutton, welcome back to Spotlight on the Arts. I'm truly excited again to turn the spotlight on you today.
Hey, thank you very much for being here. I hope we have a nice, interesting voyage into how the arts work at this particular studio.
Yes, that's the way to look at it. Hop on the ship and let's sail together, huh? You know, Richard, if I may call you by your first,
Yes.
You were with us last September 9th of 2017.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Time has passed on so fast. So for the viewers, could you share with us how you were first inspired in becoming a visual artist?
Well, that goes clear back a long way, of course, but as brief as I can make it, essentially I'd always sketched and made drawings and stuff, mainly with whatever I could get a hold of, but there wasn't any art at the high school or public schools I went to, except for one teacher encouraged me in 8th grade, individually. And so when I got to college, I was a pre-med student, but I took this art class to fill in the schedule. And that, from then on, of course, that was the end of the med school bit. So that's how I got here. And I've always enjoyed it. I'm very fortunate in life to be able to continue to do something like this. As you use the word blessed, I can't believe that's happened.
I would like you to share, if you would, with the viewers just what has been happening in your art world since our last visit here on Spotlight on the Arts. So I understand you made a trip in 2018. You
Yes.
talked about that last show to the Mideast, India, etc. Share with the viewers what that experience was.
Well,
like.
that was experience one cannot imagine, actually. Our son happened to have a business in Dubai, and so he says, why don't you come over to Dubai? United Arab Emirates, of course. And so we went over there and got to see that city. I call that Disneyland on steroids, by the way. But the tallest building in the world and so forth. We ate dinner in that place 3 times. But it's an amazing, amazing place in this desert environment. But we was there a number of weeks, and then his business partner was from India. So we flew to India in the southern part, which is the jungle part. You couldn't go out after night because of wild elephants and tigers. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a different, strange place to be out of this environment, especially. Very exciting. Got to paint a lot in both places with my little plein air kit that I always carry with me. And that makes it very exciting to visit those places. The culture in India was just, I don't know how you can, and by the way, I rode trains there. So if you see some of those films, it wasn't quite as bad as you see in those films. There weren't people on the roofs. But anyway, the people were fantastic. That was the most interesting part. Excuse me. But anyway, I got to paint a lot, meet a lot of people of all kinds of different creeds, cultures. What I was amazed at is the mix of religions in both places. You don't imagine that in the Middle East, but it's there. And in India also. I mean, you'd see a Hindu temple, and then you'd see a Catholic church down the street, and then another brand of whatever it might be. So that was extremely interesting. So after that trip, which was almost a month, By the way, the return trip on the airline was almost 16 hours. Yeah, get you some Bose headphones for that one.
Yes.
But I got a lot of reference material and plein air paintings. One of Murray's best trips, and his friend that invited us to the plantation there in southern India, Kella was the name of the state. It's called, and God's country. That's what it means. But anyway, I got a lot of material, still work with it mentally, and still good friends with our host and hostess. So that was best. And then the following year, we made a trip to England. This is pre-pandemic, by the way. We didn't run around very much when that started. My wife and I, Karen, have a good practice of going any place we get an idea to go to. But we went to England and just stayed in London and Oxford for almost 3 weeks. We decided not to travel, mainly stay in a place and go out in the country and sketch, and we'd hire a taxi or go on a local transportation method. And I'd always take a sketch pad and so forth with me. So, and my wife's into miniatures, doll houses. So we went to a lot of places that those were available. And we hope to go back this fall and see Queen Victoria's dollhouse. So that's what's going on in our lives. And then, of course, the pandemic came along. And I'm just very fortunate to be able to do something like this at this age. I think that's really, really important.
Well, Richard, it sounds like that 2018, 2019 were great years for you, even though the pandemic. We've both been vaccinated this current year, 2021, and you were able to enter a piece of art called For Nature's Art at the Run Center, which I'm sponsoring, so I want to thank you for that.
Yes, thank
Now,
you.
the piece that you did enter, I want to invite people to go to the runs at this time, June of 2021, there in Jefferson City. And the piece that you entered is really typical, and maybe the same area, of the painting over your left shoulder. Can you tell us a little story about that? I understand that you have done quite a few of that in that area of that. So go ahead and tell us
Well,
about that.
actually it started kind of by accident. I went over there, and spring was just, you could see little pieces of spring and spring color appearing. And that's only about 5 miles from our house. And what was really interesting is I did a painting. Then I went back to the same place a week later and did another painting. And I guess I was playing the Monet game. I just kept painting the same thing over and over again. And I couldn't believe it. I ended up with 7 paintings of the same thing over a period of back a month. And the difference in them was what was amazing. The coloration. That was a very exciting thing to do, a very different type of thing to do. That's what I found important. And by the way, I did full sheets. I mean, that's the size I was working with 2 of them. Full sheet watercolor. We ended up framed 28 by 36 on 300 pound. Always people say, what do you mean 300 pound? I say, you have to use a crane to lift those out of the car. No, no, but a ream of them would be 300 pounds. But anyway, that was one of the most exciting things I did this spring. I think that's you don't expect those things. I think that's what life is a total. It's like going to India. I didn't believe I would ever make it to some place like that, to see the culture like that, and then to go 5 miles from your house. And a student just quoted me and he said, go out and paint your backyard.
Oh, that's
good. And wherever your backyard happens to be.
Where it might be.
Yeah.
And we do reach people all over the world now, thanks to YouTube and Instagram and LinkedIn. So when you're talking to your viewers that are listening to you from Brazil, India, China, what have you, and you'll see the response on the Instagram and YouTube in a lot of cases. So yes, you do beautiful work, and that's a great example of that. And the pandemic did offer many people time to paint. whether they was
Oh, yeah.
at home or, in this case, in the spring, being able to get out. And the Run Center exhibit is one of a kind, and anyone has been on the show in the past since 2016, or is scheduled for this year 21 or 22, have been invited to exhibit there. So
That's a wonderful show. I got to see it before while it was being put up, so I got to see probably 80% of the works.
Oh,
I mean that was very. I remember a quilt there. I go, wow, look at that
yes,
thing.
yes.
And I don't quilt, of course, but it was very impressive artwork.
Quilting is art.
Yeah, yeah.
Interesting.
But there's all kinds of art forms. They're kind of appearing now. They're switching over into that pile of whatever you call art. My wife does these dollhouse and miniatures, you know, like the Thorn houses in Chicago at the Art
Yes.
Institute. And I posted one of those. I can't remember how many hits she got on Facebook. They said, wow, what is that? You know, it's 1/12 scale. She made most of the items in there, decorated the rooms, all this kind of stuff.
Oh,
And just,
I should do a show on her.
yeah, you could do a show on her.
didn't realize that.
She might look at me and like go, whoa, I don't know about that.
I'll make it easy.
Yeah, well, I know. She would be good at it, actually.
Well, Richard, that really brings us up to date, and what a wonderful, really, period in your life, even considering, you know, the pandemic that we've all adjusted to. We have to take a break now, so relax
Okay.
and stay with me for the
Hey,
next 60
thank you, Rick.
seconds.
Bye. For now.
Thank you. We'll be right back. After the break, Richard will fill us in on the future plans for this current year, 2021, and the future for that matter. And give us a little bit of a tour of your studio and share with us how you might take a new look at plein air in his frame of mind, plein air leading to abstractions or abstract painting. Stay with us. We'll be right back. There's a lot more here on
Yes.
Spotlight on the Arts.
Do you have a problem with your friends driving recklessly? With your friends endangering your life? I'm here to tell you that reckless driving is the #1 cause of teenage deaths. But with new and improved Slow Down, you don't have to die.
He's right. We should slow down.
In the real world, there is no spokesperson to prevent reckless driving. There's only you. Speak up.
Kim, pay attention.
Welcome back, everyone, to Spotlight on the Arts. I continue now with my special guest, Richard Dutton from Hallsville, Missouri. Well, Richard, before the break, you shared a lot of information, so let's continue along those lines of thought and expression. What are your plans for the rest of the year, 2021, and the future?
You know, it's such an upsetting time. You start planning this stuff and you wonder if it's really going to happen. I mean, I think people are kind of leery of doing anything. They just go to, is it going to change tomorrow and be locked up again or something? But anyway, we hope to go. We're going to have a grandchild here soon from California with us for a few weeks.
Well, that'll bring a smile.
Oh,
to
that'll
your
bring a
face.
smile. That'll bring a big smile to the face. We're looking forward to that. And then in first of October, if we are fortunate enough, we're going to head to England. My wife wants to see Queen Victoria's dollhouse in London, and we're just going to putz around London for about a week, go to a pub and eat dinner and meet all the folks, because they're very friendly in those places, and you get to see real England there.
Now, you mentioned the dollhouse
Yes,
there in England. Your wife does the
Miniature.
1/12
yeah.
size dollhouses,
Yeah.
and noted for her work. So that looks like another show here in Hallsville.
If we can talk her into it.
Yeah, that's right. So she's got a mention now. What is her name? If we
Karen
Karen?
with a K, yeah.
Karen
Yeah.
Dutton,
And she's very good at it. I don't know if she thinks she is, but she's very good at it.
She would be the first on Spotlight on the Arts, and that is an art.
Yeah, and I know of another one like that you'd be interested in. But anyway, then we hope to go on to Germany. Our son lives in northern Germany, in Hamburg, and we hope to go over there for a week and a half, 2 weeks. And I'll get some sketching in, like behind me there's a painting from Hamburg from a few years ago, a plein air painting. And I enjoy going to England, but I enjoy going to Germany. My son's lived there since, I've lost track of how long ago that was, 92 or something. So he's lived there he went there in the military, and he stayed and married a young lady, had some children, so forth. But anyway, it's really going to be a great trip, and I hope we get to do it. I mean, it's like emphatic, like
Yes.
this is going to happen. I don't care what.
We do some awesome commission work, I understand. Would you like to share your website address?
Yes,
email,
yes, yeah,
And
I'll
phone number where you
Yeah.
might reach you?
First of all, 573-881-3198. And then you want the website or not?
Yes, that's really good.
www.Dutton Watercolor.
You,
TTON and then watercolor, one word.
Dutton Watercolor.
Yes. And I have a sister-in-law who has a site, so you might get her site very close to that when you pull it up on whatever you're pulling it up on. But commission works, I just finished one, 60 inches wide and 36 inches high. So it's pretty large work. And it was, what was it? Look at a note here. Fruit of the Spirit theme. It's kind of a religious painting.
Awesome.
A little unusual for me. And then I do house commissions. People want paintings of their houses. I just did one of northern Minnesota. But I didn't go up there. It's too cold to go up there.
I see.
So I do all kinds of things like that.
All right, great. Well, Richard, let's take a break and give us a quick tour, if you would, of your studio, and then we'll come back to more about the plein air subject matter and how it becomes abstract in your mind and your work. So we will be right back with the tour. Thank you.
Well, we're going to look at some of the paintings I have in the studio that I've recently completed. This is one of those series of 7 of the lakes down here, and it's actually mixed media, pastel, gouache, watercolor. I couldn't find anything else, so I didn't put anything else in it. But anyway, large full sheet watercolor on 300-pound paper for those who know what that is. Very interesting piece from 1964. I was raised in Bethel, Missouri, a little town up in northeast Missouri. And I managed to keep that one. And it started as a plein air of all things. And I posted that on Facebook, and this lady says, I drove down the road and I suddenly realized she watched me do that. That was kind of, well, it's just, you didn't expect anything like that. And then here are some of you have seen Dr. Martin up there. We went to the village where that's filmed, and that was the schoolhouse. And I had a cup of coffee while I was painting that one, down in a coffee shop. Down below is in Egypt scene on the Nile. And below this is the Merrimack River. So again, the backyard, wherever that may be. And we'll move on over and get another panel. And here's another one of, this is winter here, a plein air work. And then if I move up here, there's a painting from Dubai. And this is Hamburg and the Rhine River. And Rick, one of your favorite places, Tucson, Arizona. How about that? You recognize the cactus in there for sure. And of course, across the Rhine River again at Worms. So a number of plein air works. I really enjoyed all the places I get to go for that. Here's one Alfred Awards. I always tell people I'm still painting to improve my resume at this stage of the game. And here's a plein air from the deep winter this year. And I'll get one here recently. There's a stack of them here. That was, again, the Twin Lakes in southern Columbia. And that was just a week ago. It was real atmospheric because of all the rain and so forth at that particular time. So it was a nice voyage on all these places I got to go to. I think I use the word voyage too much, but everything is a voyage. And this is a little trail, and then an abstraction. The coloration is what I really enjoy doing as much as anything. If you notice all the colors in there, as well as the shape itself. And I think that one has to do with time. This one right here was in Watercolor USA about a year ago. And they used it as part of publicity for this year. And it's on 300-pound paper again. And is essentially a watercolor. The next painting is mixed media. It even has gold leaf in it, of all things. And it's real gold leaf. It's not the fake stuff. But mixed media. And it just won an award in the Watercolor USA Honor Society show. And then over here finally is another abstraction to deal with mainly impression and time and color mixing. And again, another painting for Rick here is another one of Tucson Mountains. I think that's over on the west side of Tucson. And that happens to be an oil, of all things. So I do some oil painting once in a while. And so that covers, I think, some of the things in the studio. I hope it's a nice tour, and thank you, Rick, again very much.
Well, Richard, that was a great tour. Very impressive and definitely representative of your works. So thank you for that grand tour. Richard, you have the ability to use plein air subject matter and turn it into some really awesome abstract works. Can you explain to the viewers how this all comes about?
That's one of the hardest things to explain verbally. But to put it the best I can is that the coloration and so forth in the landscapes, which I think a lot of people miss. It's like going to the Grand Canyon. I use the example of that. Two people stand and say, "Oh, isn't that wonderful?" But they don't see the same thing as you do.
That's right.
And because of all the things that you've dealt with all your life. So the coloration, and like when I did the plein airs down here at the lake, that series of 7, a lot of the coloration, I remember I started an abstract in the middle of that. And it went off in a direction that I didn't know why. And I know exactly why, because I've been down there studying how the color changed in the spring. And I just noticed that again from all the rains in the last week, again how the greens changed. They're not just green. There's all those complementary colors in there and shadows. Yeah, teals and so forth, and yellow greens and so forth. And it's kind of an explosion. And of course, the complement to that is red.
Yes.
So the eye actually can perceive red in the complement scale. I guess my mind's spinning from the cue from that.
Yes.
And other artists here's what somebody does over here, like the music or so forth like that. And I play classical music in here, by and large. I have a full surround sound system in here, so I play classical music when I'm painting. And I don't know what influence that has, but I'm quite sure it's more profound than I perceive. I hope they pick up on that. In other words, it takes a lot of work from the viewer, the person who's watching this and listening, to use those words and to make something that's helpful to them, whatever that is.
Well, Richard, we're just about out of time, so I'd like to ask you if you have any final inspirational for our viewers, no matter where in this world they may be. In the show, you sort of invited them to be free with us
Right.
a couple seconds ago. Any final thoughts?
Well, that's it. In other words, if you paint or music or whatever the case happens to be, I think it's important that you just do what you want to do. Don't be so critical Be critical enough to change and to adapt and be creative. But don't reject it because you think somebody's doing something different or better. Whatever that particular thing is, just go with it. Have fun with it. Enjoy it. That's the experience right there. I'm so fortunate to be able to do this. It really brings a smile. I guess my smile is because I enjoy what I'm doing. Thank you, Rick.
Well, thank you once again, Richard, for the tour and contributing to Spotlight on the Arts. It's been really inspiring to visit with you once again, and really an informational, educational experience, I'm sure, for everyone. So thanks for the tour of the studio here in Hallsville, and I wish you the best until we meet again on Spotlight on the Arts.
Hey, thank you, Rick. I really appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Well, that wraps up another inspiring look at an artist here on Spotlight on the Arts. Thank you, viewers, for joining me today worldwide, thanks to YouTube, as I mentioned before. Look for more exciting visual artists, entertainers, and more here on Spotlight on the Arts. I'm Rick J. saying, see you next time.